2 light dabs in addition to what I'm gonna bring down from here. That doesn't seem to be too much, but anything more than that, it's like, it stands out. Normally I would blend this in immediately after applying that C, and immediately after applying this in the Adam's apple, I would kind of blend this in. I just did this part, now I'm gonna do this kind of C up here, and I forgot to put contour up higher. So what I would do if I didn't want to apply more is I would just push more that's down here up higher. I would spend a little bit more time on it, which I'm doing right now. And I'll also want to make sure you guys can see this, kind of get this area. And then this area we're going to put highlighter in, and I like to wait till the highlighter's there to move that. Say to do highlighter first here, but I like to, now that I know where I'm going to put these lines, bring these lines down first, the contour, and those are going to surround highlighter, and they're going to be directly touching the highlighter lines. The idea is to get it as narrow and straight as possible, and then do kind of like a little dot here, or like a line here, but it more rounded, like a dot, is going to give you kind of a more like cutesy nose look. And you want to focus the highlighter in this area. You're supposed to get some right here on either side. That's a recommendation. Every time I focus on that, I end up bringing it up here, which is actually supposed to be a little bit darker, if anything. So yeah, I try not to focus on it, try to focus on getting it here, and that almost always ends up getting it here. Be sweeping in directly under, from right above the ear down to the mouth, under the contour line. And then this is kind of what I was talking about, where it's hard to match the upper face to the lower face, because you also need to bring it down across your chin. And I felt that, I can't remember what I said earlier, but that caused some problems with the tip I had earlier, because it just felt like there was some kind of like difference between the upper and lower. So now I kind of keep this lower so that this being lower makes sense. Not sure if that was clear. I do the highlighter lower because the contour is lower. I do a lot of highlighter here, even though this is supposed to be brighter. I'll probably go and add more highlighter to make it match this, but most people say brighter, but I like it matching. And then I'll just take a little bit of highlighter, just like a dab across through here. It needs to be bright, or I find it helps for it to be bright, but it doesn't take too much. And then a lot of girls, I haven't got this to work, will do like light lines, like of highlighter coming out of their mouth, and that kind of widens the mouth look. Haven't been able to get that to work, but it looks really good. I went ahead and added the highlighter to my nose in 2 lines on the inside of those contour lines. And then I should have done this with the contour too. You just kind of, the phrase I heard was cheat it up into your eyes, like curving it to keep that with that curved feminine face. And I'll just go back with the contour and kind of do that. And because you want your eyelids lighter and above the eyelids darker, I'll move the highlighter into the eyelid area. I'll move the contour higher up into the eyebrow and above the eyelids. That just adds depth to the eyes. I'm actually gonna put some contour up here. I had dreads, which devastated my hairline. For those who don't know, it's more painful than getting a tattoo. It like ripped up a bunch of my hair. They say to take an oil pencil, I think like an eyebrow pencil, or like an eyebrow pencil, and you can kind of do like lines like this. I thought I might do that in this video today, especially after I apply everything. I don't think it looks that good. I do a hat, or just try to be comfortable with how I look. And remember, all of this is just to kind of play with your look. Probably look great either way, you know, how you're supposed to look, but who cares about making things look a little different, right? And I've gone ahead and brought the contour straight down through here and added some foundation here, 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 and here to kind of outline it and blend it back into a more natural color. When I get to blending later, this is blending or sculpting. I think maybe that last step is called sculpting technically. And now we're either sculpting or blending. I'm pretty sure it's blending. And I like to use, so I have a darker side of my sponge and a lighter side, and I kind of just go in between and use that side. And yeah, the idea here is to kind of keep with that curved aspect. One thing I like to do is I've noticed if I leave this slice of the pie out, it looks better. It's kind of how I think about it. And then what I'll do here is I'll kind of come in a triangle shape and then reverse that and pull it down into the Adam's apple on the other side, kind of making like a diamond. Find that looks more feminine and petite and cute and rounded, but it just kind of makes my face look longer if I, you know, include that area in my circle. And here I kind of split, like either I'm going to push more contour up here or I'm going to start pulling down from the highlighted areas across the contour. And I like to kind of go straight across so that we can keep the contour here and the highlighter here. That's a big thing I do, is try not to blend the eye, highlighter, and contour too much in this stage. And because I used to be able to blend with a brush a lot easier, but because this one needed a sponge to go on, I find I have to blend with a sponge at first. And then when I get down to the eye level, I kind of start bringing it, the highlighter over again. And then once my face is a little bit blended, I'll kind of start blending into the neck as well from the face. Sometimes I'll start the brush here, but I didn't do a ton of sponge work at first. So I'm gonna go back over it with the sponge. Normally I'll just apply a little bit more pressure with the sponge than I just was. But I'm also like, that kind of removes a lot of the makeup, so I don't like to do that too much. I like to be really careful with the pressure I apply to the sponge. And then once that's done, I'll kind of use the sponge to do this area. And I guess next I would kind of blend into that foundation. And then refocus on that triangle. Now that there's a little bit of blended stuff down here, just to kind of reinforce that shape, since a lot of what's down here is going to be darker. I find it doesn't hurt to do so. And here I like to focus on like trying to make this as rounded as possible with the sponge before I get into things with the brush, because the brush does not move this makeup around a lot. And then I've just barely, without touching the darker area, I'll move the highlighter and contour surrounding it up into the eyes in that same kind of curved shape, ideally. I've gotten really bad at doing my curves. I just follow my square face sometimes, but I think in this video I might have done a little bit better. But then I like to go over it with a brush. Ideally, I would do a little circles in opposite directions on either side of the face. That tires my hand out really quickly, doing it in the opposite direction. So I do it as much as I can, and then I try not to beat myself up about it, about not being able to keep doing that. Plus I feel my circles look different with this motion anyways, so it's like if you're going for like an even look, the circles are already kind of different, so it's not going to be that even. And I don't want to jar you guys, but like, I haven't talked with my girl voice at all so far, so I figured I might do that a little bit too. We'll see. We'll see if I can stick to that. I don't know if I'll be able to stick to it. Anyways, just doing like little circles down through here in that same